And with that, hello, 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 and welcome into Coach's Corner, aka the Lucas and Layla show. As you can hear, she is chewing on a bone as loud as she can, of course, because she can in the background there, you know. And we're back after another sports-filled weekend. Wow, shocker! Who would have thought that there was a lot of sports this weekend? A lot to get to, and I there's a lot of times where during the sports season, normally like during football season, we get to the fall. We get to like college football all day. We get to NFL football all day, and we kind of lock into those like weeks because the build up throughout Monday. I guess Tuesday, if you want to like exclude or include Monday Night Football, the wait from basically Tuesday to basically Saturday for a full slate of football is one of like it's tempting us, and we're waiting so desperately to get that football. And we kind of forget that this time of year of March Madness into April for NBA playoffs, Masters, college basketball, and March obviously, that like in the NFL draft, like the football is still here. It's in a different format. It's not games, but the excitement is still there, especially for losing teams. And I think we forget that this very well might be the best part or the best time for sports during the calendar year. Now that, like I said, probably am wrong there when I like look back on a college football Saturday where I'm sitting on my couch from 12 to 12 watching all the football I can. But I still have to, talk about how great this time of year is. And, talking about football, we're going to transition to our first topic here at hand. Someone got paid big money over the weekend. I won't even say over the weekend. Today. Someone got paid big money today. That name is Jalen Hurts. That's right, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles agreed on a 5-year, $255 million contract extension. And I dive into this topic on LK League Notes this week. That's your little preview, little snippet for that's coming out on Friday on the LK Sports Talk. But this is a really good deal, I think, for the Eagles. And the immediate thought always goes to, oh my gosh, that's so much money. He's the highest paid player in NFL history. Well, fun fact, every quarterback that's about to be paid is going to be the highest paid player in NFL history. All the names that you're going to hear that you're normally like, yeah, they probably do deserve that money, they're about to get paid. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, we'll probably get Trevor Lawrence next year. Just the list goes on of guys that are going to probably be, quote-unquote, the highest paid player in the league, or in league history. And so that's just kind of is what it is. And, for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, the Eagles aren't that far away from Baltimore with, Ravens and Lamar Jackson. They kind of see how that situation has devolved into what it is. And I think Jalen and Lamar are completely different quarterbacks. Jalen's more of a big guy than Lamar and doesn't get hurt as much, although he got banged up towards the end of the year, unrelated to his running. But you know what I'm saying is like they see a situation like that between a young quarterback and their team just breaking down because the Ravens wanted to hold off and wait to see what they could do with Lamar in that contract. Eagles saw that. They said, nope, not doing that. We're going to lock them down now. We're not even going to think about it. We're going to keep our young quarterback for the foreseeable future. And it's a smart move. It just is. Locking up the young quarterback who just led you to the Super Bowl, got second place in MVP voting. That's a good signing. This isn't like, this isn't like a Daniel Jones situation where he had one really good year under a coach who really helps his quarterbacks. It's not a Jimmy Garoppolo season where Jimmy, I think, ended the season 6-0 for the 49ers that one year and got paid immediately. No, Jalen Hurts is more proven. You've seen how he's developed throughout his time in the league, throughout the time of his career, because the transition Jalen made from Alabama to Oklahoma was substantial. The jump he's made from Oklahoma to the NFL has been substantial, especially last year. Now that he finally had receivers around him, obviously the offensive line was terrific. Nick Sirianni did a great job, and that's all. Like, we can go back and watch the film; it's all there. It's no debating whether Jalen Hurts is good or not. And he still probably can improve. He's still got to develop the passing game. I think probably to, I didn't know this. He only threw for like 3,700 yards, rushed for like 700. I didn't realize it was that low in passing yards. Now, I know he did miss a couple of weeks where he could have gotten probably over 4,000 easily. But, I think a player of this caliber, obviously now the top paid quarterback in the league, I think you would like to see that number go up more, probably have him take less hits. And I'm assuming that's going to be the plan for the Eagles to go forward, especially if they draft a receiver with one of their first-round picks. I think they're going to try and have him throw the ball more, and that's probably a smart decision, having your quarterback throw the ball. But regardless, don't worry about the money. I think from a team-building perspective, you always want to have the quarterback, and you want to figure out who he is, where you can pay him, and you're locked there. Like, you have no questions about it. You're done. And the Eagles did that. And, Howie Roseman is no rookie to this NFL GMing thing. He's been around a while. He's built a Super Bowl winner before. He just built a team that made it back to the Super Bowl in a very short time period that a lot of GMs can't do. So you have to have faith in your decision makers. You have to have faith in your quarterback. And you have to have faith in the direction that the team is heading. And last year, I think you can point to several things that, as an Eagles fan, make you optimistic about that direction. Even if now Jalen Hurts is going to take up a lot of cap space, the cap isn't as bad as you would think, because GMs always find a way to manipulate it. And like I said, you always want to find the quarterback than just not have a guy and trying to patchwork it with bridge guys, while also having a great team around you. Like, I think the 49ers are a great example of that. I think the 49ers would love to have a quarterback they feel solid enough to pay this amount of money, but they haven't, and they've been to the playoffs several times because their team around is so great, but the quarterback hasn't quite, been the answer. And I think the Chiefs are a great example of this with Patrick Mahomes. They paid him $500 million for over a 10-year span, so double this up basically. And they've made it to a Super Bowl and won. So it's definitely doable. Will you have to cut some corners with some guys that you probably don't want to lose? Yeah, but that's a price you're willing to pay for the most important position on your team. So moving off of that was the big NFL news we got. Like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about other guys in my LK League notes this week. Make sure to check that out, lksportstalk.com. Shameless plug, We have some NBA basketball we got to get to, and we're going to start off with Saturday's games, transition to Sundays. We have one of Saturday's games going on. The first one of those, the Nets-Sixers. As you can see on the screen, Game 1, Sixers took that by 20 points. It's one of those, I don't want to say I predicted it because that's kind of lazy here, but it's kind of known that the Nets are going to struggle in this series to keep up with the 76ers, especially when you have James Harden playing at the level he was, especially in the first half on Saturday. He was doing the step backs, he was making great passes, Embiid was doing his job. It was one of those Sixers kind of just put together a really good team effort to stifle a Nets team that was hanging around for a while because Mikal Bridges had 25 first half points. So they took care of business. Right now, they're trying to put away the Sixers. They're up 2 points right now with 6 minutes left in the third. So Sixers are trying to win this game as I'm recording this. We'll obviously know the result later as they hit a 3. But that was the first game on Saturday. Nothing crazy there. The next game, nothing crazy either. Hawks, Celtics. Boston gets the win over Atlanta. This was a game that was tough for the Hawks coming in because we just know that Boston has a lot of players that match up very well against what the Hawks do. They have Rob Williams coming off the bench, which I didn't know that was a prominent feature of their rotation. And Robert Williams had one of the best games from him I've ever seen. And, I'm not going to say I watch a bunch of Celtics, so I know Rob Williams tape like crazy. But, I think that he had just such a good performance on both ends of the floor. Hawks had no answer. Their defense always felt like it was scrambling. They didn't make shots that they should have. It was just a whole kerfuffle for the Hawks to not do anything. Now, do I think they can bounce back? Yes, I think there are things they can kind of look at, see how they match up, and make this actually a somewhat competitive series. But I think the Celtics could also just do what they did and get the wins. I think the Hawks can make it close. I think the Celtics can do exactly what they did and sleepwalk to the next round. And then we have the Knicks and Cavaliers. Now, this was, I want to say, surprising, just because I think the Knicks really kind of controlled this game They controlled this game in a way that I didn't think that they could, behind Jalen Brunson not doing a lot for most of the game. Now, Cavaliers caught up to them and took the lead for a little bit, but Brunson was huge in the fourth quarter. I think he was, like I kind of mentioned it on the preview, he was a piece that they were missing during their last playoff run against the Hawks that they could have definitely used him. And yeah, they kind of just stifled the Cavaliers in their home, and this is what they needed to do. I fear for the Cavaliers because Donovan Mitchell put up a great performance and it amounted to not a whole lot. It amounted in a 4-point loss at home. So New York leads that series now. That's like I said, that was a fun one. I'm as excited for coming on again tomorrow. And we finished with the game of the weekend in my eyes. The Warriors and Kings. This was high-level basketball, I think, that you get during the playoffs. The intensity was insane. The atmosphere was insane. And you can't say that often about the atmosphere because these first-round matchups are... fans are kind of going through the motion, at least the winning ones. Like, you get teams like the Celtics crowd never felt like they were that into it until like midway through the second when they started making three-pointers. As the Kings crowd, which obviously they haven't been here in 20 years, was juiced from the moment tip-off started. They were behind their team from all 48. Despite the Warriors being ahead, they were behind them. Light the beam. The Sacramento Kings are here, and I'm so happy for them and their fans. It was a terrific game from De'Aaron Fox. Fun story. I got his jersey, I think, for Christmas one year. I got his Kentucky jersey, and it was when De'Aaron Fox and Lonzo Ball were the two top point guards basically in college basketball going into the draft. De'Aaron Fox had gotten the best of Lonzo, I think, a couple times, like during their matchups. Just kind of owned him. And people loved Lonzo, and I liked Lonzo as well. But De'Aaron was kind of the guy that I latched onto because I just liked his game a lot. I knew he wasn't a shooter like that, but I knew that he was fun and attacked. And was a really good slasher and super fast. And so I got his Kentucky jersey kind of, whenever you get a college guy's jersey, you're calling your shot, basically. If they're like a college guy who isn't a legend, you're calling your shot. I have a Zach Wilson BYU jersey. That was a miss. But I have a De'Aaron Fox Kentucky jersey, and I think that's good to say it was a hit. He had 38 points, was terrific in guarding Steph in the fourth quarter. Malik Monk was great there for Sacramento off the bench. And, yeah, I mean, I'm still worrisome for them because can they repeat that kind of performance every game? No, I don't, but think so. But if they get more from Sabonis, who I don't think had a great game, Kevin Huerter, I don't think had a great game, if they get more points from guys that didn't play as well in game one, their odds are better than I've had them as before, like coming into the game. So I wouldn't worry either if I was the Warriors going from their perspective because Steph Curry had a good game. I think Draymond's impact was all over the game and his fingerprints. Klay Thompson, I think, shot well. So Andrew Wiggins missed a big three at the end to tie it, or to, I think, win it, actually. But Is his first game in a while. So if Andrew Wiggins can, kind of take that step into his like conditioning and playing and being back truly as the guy they had last playoff run, I think the Warriors fare better. But this is how a series plays out. We gotta see how it goes. So that's Saturday's slate. Like I said, a good slate. Move on to Sunday. We got the Lakers Grizzlies. Ja Morant went out with an injury, a hand injury. And that was kind of all she wrote. Jaren Jackson, I think, tried his best, but the Grizzlies got destroyed by Austin Reeves. And if you don't know Austin Reeves, he's a 6'4" white guy that, does not... He looks like if I made a my player in 2K and I was like, I think I do have a little bit of swoop on my hair. I should make him have that haircut. He's a video game my player of any white guy that tries to remake themselves in the video game. But he went crazy towards the end and kind of just killed the Grizzlies as Ja Morant had to watch with his broken hand. Or I don't know what the diagnosis was, but it's not good. It's not good for them. So Ja Morant's out for probably Wednesday's game. That's pretty huge given the fact that they were already, I would say 50-50 odds-wise coming into this matchup. And so losing him is very tough. I thought that's where they had an advantage, and now they don't. So very tough. But Lakers do get that win. They're up 1-0. Heat get the win over the Bucks. This felt weird because Miami made a lot of shots. Giannis went down after 11 minutes. Bucks fought back a couple times, but could never really, get to that point where they were fighting to win. They were just, cut the lead down to 5, cut the lead down to 4. Then it goes back to 10. And did that the whole game. It's hard to win that way. It's hard to catch up because you expend so much energy trying to come back. And they just did it. So, tough game for them. See that go down. The Heat, Jimmy Butler does another thing in the playoffs. And, we're going to talk about a guy who I think is the best playoff performer that I've seen every game. But Jimmy Butler is up there for guys that just shows up and does things in the playoffs. Now, do I agree with how he does it every time? No, I think that he embellishes towards the rim sometimes to get calls. But, savvy veterans do that, and I think Jimmy Butler is a savvy veteran. So, but he get the win there. Giannis's status, I think, is a big storyline now. Back injury, back contusion is what they said. So, it's one of those, maybe they just held him out of precaution. Maybe they thought they could win. They couldn't. So, I think they'll need him if they do really want to win. But moving on to another great game, the Clippers and Suns. This was one of those, I thought the Suns would be more competitive throughout because it felt like the Clippers had the lead. They kind of blew the lead, but then they took the lead again. And Kawhi Leonard was that player I was referencing earlier. Not sure if I've seen a player on both ends of the floor impact a game in the playoffs like Kawhi Leonard. Now, yeah, LeBron James, this, that, and the other, but from a scoring perspective and from clamping down the other team's best player, Kawhi Leonard I think is up there for one of the best guys in playoff history doing that. It's unbelievable to watch. He made several threes late towards that end of the game there that brought them, basically the win, the chance to win. Kevin Durant, as much as I love Kevin Durant in his game, he had 11 assists, which is helpful, but he didn't take a field goal in the last 5 minutes. And now the Suns sacrificed several players, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, to bring in Kevin Durant to not shoot a shot with 5 minutes left in the game. No, that's not what they did. The Suns got him to bring them over the hump offensively and defensively, matter of fact, because he is underrated on that side, but they just didn't perform in that way. They just never could close it, and I felt guys failed to get Kevin Durant involved. I felt like Devin Booker failed in trying to play hero ball at the end. That resulted in a Russell Westbrook block. It was an ugly game for the Suns and an outstanding performance from Leonard that I saw in this game. And I really wanted to pick the Clippers, but the absence of Paul George I thought would have a worse impact than it looks like it did. And Kawhi Leonard's just able to carry teams like that, I suppose. And I hope that he stays healthy, because this is always kind of the question is like, will he stay healthy for this run? I hope he does. And like I said, we're probably in for another amazing playoff run if he is. But that was an impressive game from him and his crew on Sunday. And then we go to the last game. Not much to talk about this one. A 29-point dismantling of the Timberwolves. The Nuggets go on top in this series. Jamal Murray made big shots, it felt like, when he needed to really extend this lead. Jokic did his job initiating the offense. Someone had a good series. I'm trying to remember if it was like Aaron Gordon or Bruce Brown. I think Bruce Brown had a good game from what I remember. And yeah, so real quick, I want to check this game because it's one of those that start at 10:30, and I could not stay up that late. But from what I'm seeing in the box score, because Minnesota losing by 29 is like someone went horribly wrong here. Minus 15 from Kyle Anderson. He shot 5 of 11. That's brutal from your bench, your highest bench player in minutes. And Anthony Edwards didn't shoot great, only had 18 points. Karl-Anthony Towns 5 for 15, 1 of 7 from 3 with 11 points. That's not going to cut it. And yeah, Rudy Gobert 5 shots, made 3 of them, but was minus 28 in the game. You traded 4 first-round picks for him. That's a lot of capital for a guy that you wanted to help you, and in a lot of ways, looks like he's hurting you. So that's a tough look. But yeah, Bruce Brown off the bench. I thought he had a good game. He had 14 points. So good game from overall all the Nuggets starters in double digits, including Brown off the bench. 6 guys there. That's huge. And so big stuff for them. Big stuff for the playoffs. As we see right here, end of the third quarter, 76ers are on top, 68-63. So, listener, you'll probably hear that. You'll hear the final score, the winning score. Oh, gosh, dog just tried to kill me there. And, yeah, that's the NBA playoffs. The NHL playoffs are going on. They just started tonight. I'm not going to pretend and act like I know everything about the NHL. I don't. That's not my priority sport here. But Hurricanes are up 2-1 right now, and the Bruins are up 3-1. Bruins obviously have to be the favorite. Just getting the President's Trophy and winning the most regular season games of all time. That's big company to be on top of, and so. And real quick, the hockey puck minute. We got some big news coming out of Georgia. In Forsyth County, they're building some big business person's funding they called it like a battery-like park there in Forsyth County, and more towards like between Alpharetta and Forsyth County, which is North Atlanta for the non-Georgia listeners. And very interesting, $1 billion stadium arena, 18,000 seat arena is what's being built on this land that they're hoping could lure the NHL back in Atlanta. So 3rd time's the charm, maybe, for Georgia. And respectfully, I think it's a good idea to not build it in the city of Atlanta, because I think the demographic you're going for doesn't want to go to Atlanta. It wants to be north of Atlanta. That's as far as I'll go with that saying. But I think it's a good move, because I do think that if any state is missing hockey down here, it's probably Georgia. You see the Hurricanes are successful with a relatively small arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. So if we move it in Nashville's a kind of a hub. They have theirs right downtown in their Nashville, Tennessee. And I don't think there's a reason for Georgia to not, at least, how to say this, for Georgia to push forward a hockey team. It just hasn't happened because I think the team's been bad. I think it's as simple as that. I think if the way the expansion goes in NHL, if this team can win early and kind of build that, then they might be able to stick around this time. Obviously, it's hard. Obviously, it hasn't worked in the past, but you don't know until you try again. And I think that's about as fair as it can be, is let them try again. And if not, you're just going to move it up to Canada like you did Winnipeg. So, I don't know. It's, as someone that lives in Georgia, I obviously want to see it. But I can understand hockey fans and other cities being mad that we get another shot at it. But that's just a potential thing. That's likely years away. So it's hard to get excited about it, but that's the puck minute. It went over a minute this time. Who would have thought? And so with all that being said, I can't think of anything else big time happening in the sports world. The Braves are back on top in the NL. They are playing the Padres tonight, trying to get a revenge over them, who for coming into Atlanta and winning that series. They've been the best in the NL. They're on a 6-game winning streak. That's pretty cool to see. The Rays suffered their first loss of the season against the Red Sox. That was tough for them. Obviously, they wanted to keep that streak going, but 14-2, I believe they are. 14-3, I should say, is tough, but still on top of the AL. So with all that being said, I can't imagine there's anything much more to discuss than what we already did. So with all that being said, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe to the podcast feed, to the Spotify feed, I guess. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, on YouTube, youtube.com/@CoachesCorner. You can find me here. You can watch my pretty face do it in live at 9 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays. That's next time I'll be on. We'll talk about some fun sports that happen. And until then, goodbye.